Hello, everyone. This is David. Merry Meet Fair to all. Before I start, we're going to be entering Great Lent in a week. And I don't think I need to tell you that it's very important that we spiritually prepare ourselves to what's about to happen. I think for a lot of people listening, there's already a lot of bad stuff happening. Um, the attacks of the demons are already starting pretty early, and and these attacks are not going to be lighter when Great Lent starts. So we have to prepare ourselves, and I wanted to kind of start with that. And yes, as you can see from the title, this is going to be another pro-life, pro-choice video that you might see online. But I usually, when I talk about issues, I don't really like talking about stuff that many people have already addressed. So this is not going to be a typical video. I like to grant an alternative viewpoint on the whole issue. And of course, as a Christian, as an Orthodox Christian, of course, I'm pro life. Of course, I believe life starts at conception. And of course, I consider abortion murder in every single sense. Yes, even if the child is a result of incest, is, even if the child is damaged in some way, shape, or form, right? Maybe, I don't know. What was that chromosome? I can't believe I forgot that. Downs, yeah. It's still in all cases murder. And I'm not really going to get too much into it. Of course, if you're a Christian, there are biblical verses like Jeremiah 1:4-5 and even Psalm 139 that explicitly states that life begins at conception. But and so that's kind of just all we need as Christians. However, to those who are not pleased with this, that's fine, because we have this by Princeton University. Yes, this is from Princeton, and it illustrates several references that state that life begins at conception, right? Um, as you can see here, there's also this paper by Marin Kondik, PhD, where give me a second. Yes, he states, I'll find this. He states that the conclusion that human life begins at sperm egg fusion is uncontested, objective, based on the universally accepted scientific method of distinguishing different cell types from each other, and on ample scientific evidence. Blah blah blah. So scientifically speaking, this is not even a debate. That the life begins at conception. This is not even a debate. So I'm going to be approaching this from a different standpoint. Why do we even have this debate, even today? Why are we even talking about these kinds of things? If it's so clear cut. Now, of course, I want to kind of start by the several really bad arguments that I've heard endlessly. Probably the best argument I've heard from pro-choice people is, oh, if abortion is murder, then masturbation is mass genocide. And I first read this argument like when I was a 10-year-old at browsing 9gag. I'm not joking. I saw this argument on 9gag. I'm like, what is this even talk? I genuinely had no idea what this was even talking about. It's like, what's an abortion? I was completely clueless at that time. So, um, but I remember hearing that as the best argument I heard. And of course, it's a wrong argument because no one says that life begins at your dad's balls. No one says that life begins at conception. So, the baby is not in essence someone different than a normal human being. It is a human being in development, but it is still a human being. We don't consider something a human being when it's out of birth or anything like that. um, that baby possesses human nature, human essence that is immutable. It's invariant. It doesn't change or evolve into something else. So a human being 3,000 years ago is still a human being today, right? There's no distinction there between human essences. You can say there's no different human essences, and this is kind of part of Christian philosophy and how we consider man is that man is a body and a soul, and babies possess a body and a soul. They're human beings. They possess a human nature. It's kind of just as simple as that. So we don't say something like, oh no, this thing we call a zygote or whatever, it's eventually going to become a human being. That's not the argument, right? So we don't make an argument like that either. And so when you look at kind of the pro-choice argumentation, most of the really popular ones, 99% of them are really terrible, really bad, and just purely slogans, right? So you hear something like, my body, my choice, or something even more stupid than that, like men should not tell women what women should do with their bodies, which is just comical. I mean, the whole reason you even had abortion legalized in the US is because of male judges, right? Or my body, my choice. Well, it's not your body, so it's not your choice because it's a baby's body, so it's that baby's choice. And the baby's not developed enough to make a choice. That doesn't mean that you should make the choice for him or and say, "Oh, I'm going to kill it then. I'm going to make he wants to die. I'm going to kill him for him." That obviously that doesn't work. I mean, this anyone who knows basic logic, anyone who has triple digit IQ knows that these arguments are incredibly terrible, right? And one of the more popular arguments that you see is this is the other one of those is, oh well, the reason why we need abortion, first of all, if you ban abortion, right, this is another popular one, if you ban abortion, you're not going to stop abortion. If you ban murder, you're not going to stop murder either. I mean, they're the same thing. But if you ban stealing, well, just because you ban stealing doesn't mean that people are going to stop stealing now. That another classic horrendous argument. Um, and there's so many of them. And another argument that I want to tell, another pop argument. We need abortion because of economic problems. Because what if the woman gets raped? What if incest? What if that? What if that? Now let's look at this. This is from the state of Florida records a reason for every abortion that occurs within its borders each year. In 2015, there is 71K abortions in Florida. This table lists each reason and the percentage of abortions that occurred because of this. 0.001% was because the pregnancy resulted from an incestuous relationship. So don't use that as an argument. That barely happens. 0.065%, the woman's life was endangered by the pregnancy. 0.0685%, the woman was raped. So less than 1% is because of rape. 0.28 no point like less than 0.1%, even not even 1% but 0.1%. That's how low it is. The woman's physical health was pregnant. So these reasonings are really popular, widely used, but they are incredibly fringe and rare. So anyone who uses these as a defense is usually dishonest. But even if you use that as an excuse, that's not a valid excuse. Yes, if you got raped and you get an abortion, you're still a murderer. Yes, the man who raped you might be a criminal, but in fact, you're kind of a worse criminal than he is because you murdered a baby. It doesn't change anything, right? We don't say, oh, I mean, let's say again, you're pregnant because you got raped and there's a baby in your belly and you kill the baby in your belly because you got raped. It's still murder. You're still murdering someone. And no, I'm not going to pretend, oh, what a sob. Of course it's a bad thing. Of course it's a tragedy that happened. But that doesn't excuse you. That doesn't mean you should just do it, right? Oh, you might say, oh, it's unfair. I've been given responsibility. I'm suffering. No one denies that. Okay, no one denies that. But it is still murder, right? And a lot of people, I think, are kind of scared of saying something like this. Oh, how can you say that? How dare you say that? It's truth, right? Uh, sure, your life is tough, but if you don't want it to be tougher, don't be a murderer. It's as simple as that. You're still killing, you're still murdering a baby. Now, we have to kind of ask ourselves, why do these things even happen? Right? Why do these things? Why are there pro-choicers that even defend murdering infants? Right? Even if their arguments are so bad, if they don't even think about it logically or anything like that. The fundamental, and this is where this video actually comes into play. The fundamental reasoning is not really about pro-life, pro-choice, right? And I'm not saying it is in the sense that, oh, it's less. No, it's very important. It's a very important issue. But its fundamental reasoning, what a lot of pro-life people miss out is it's not the economic reasoning. Okay, mind you, it's not the economic reasoning. It's not anything like that. It is not anything like that. It is because we have been psyoped in a way into believing that responsibility is not real, and that uh, that responsibility is a no-knower that we should be avoiding, and that life is something that we should seek pleasure in. That's the only thing that we should look after, right? That's the only thing that we should kind of go for. So there's a fundamental defining piece of this worldview, is the best way I can say, that gives ground for this kind of stuff. So, for example, a lot of the reason, right? 92% did not give a reason. Do you want to think why they didn't give a reason? It's because they had sex, condom broke or they didn't use it, and pregnancy. Ooh, pregnancy happened. And they just thinking, okay, well, I don't want to deal with a kid. I just wanted a one night stand, so I might as well. Or the man I had sex with is pressuring me into getting an abortion, or my boyfriend is pressuring me into getting an abortion, or I'm pressuring my boyfriend into getting an abortion, right? It can work vice versa. Really, when you actually find out the real reasons, it gets a little bit more depressing, doesn't it? Well, it is. Because it's as simple as I had sex, I don't want to deal with the responsibility, I'm just going to whoop, kill the baby. And this is completely unacceptable. But the building blocks for this kind of view really comes from the 60s, I will say, in the US with the sexual revolution, where sex has changed from this topic that we don't really regularly talk about, that we just keep it private, to now let's make sex something public. Sexual acts are a-okay. There's no such thing as deviancy. It's just something, it gives us pleasure. We want to have fun. If you deny that, you're trying to deny us having fun. Let's just, have birth control, condoms, and casual sex with strangers. That's what we need, right? Apparently, that is exactly what we need today. That's what these people think. And this play has been going on developing, starting from the US. And really, it's not even just from the 60s. You can find the sources of it even back then. But really, it has been developing exponentially, starting from the US in the 60s and in Europe. And really, now globally, internationally, it has become this thing. For example, you look at Japan. Japan is a society full of sex addicts, yet it has one of the lowest birth rates. That should just tell you what kind of a state that country is in, right? And of course, for Christians, we kind of had to explain, we had to understand, why is sex so pleasurable? What's the point of it making it so pleasurable if it's going to be misused that way, right? If you're going to say, well, the reason why it's pleasurable is, first of all, a lot of people who abort their baby, murder their babies, they think that, oh, I got rid of the responsibility, I can keep on having fun. But first of all, the baby is not the only form of responsibility that comes out of sex. Okay, there's a biological and even psychological responsibility coming true. If you look at the studies of pair bonding, every time you have sex, the more bodies you have, the weaker your pair bonding gets, the weaker your ability to really connect with other people gets. There's that aspect. The second aspect is that it's an addictive behavior that doesn't really benefit you ultimately. It just gives you, that little short fun, and every time you do it over and over again, it becomes less and less fun. And you kind of understand, like, this is how addictions develop, right? You can think of drug addictions or alcoholic addictions. Let's say you have sex 15 times, and after 15 times, it just gets boring. So you kind of want to be a little different, right? You kind of study, okay, let's try this next, let's try that next. And over time, not even like the normal vanilla stuff or even the crazy stuff doesn't make you fun anymore. You're getting crazier and crazier and crazier, and just eventually develops into a dangerous addiction, kind of like drug addictions, right? You smoke weed, the 50th time you smoke weed, it gets boring. So now you start to get into coke, you get into meth, and you just end up, even that gets boring, so you go even further and further and further. But again, there is also psychological commitment. There's a commitment you're making with another person, even if it's a one night stand. It is still a commitment of some sort, that is both biological and psychological, and it doesn't matter how much you try to deny it. It is still something. So there's a lot of layers into it, and the reason why it's so supposedly fun and something desirable is not because so you can brag to other people saying, "Oh, look, I had sex. That means I'm a valid citizen." That's not how it works. The reason why it's desirable is, as God says in Genesis, one of the first chapters of the Christian scriptures, it says, "Be fruitful and multiply." That's really the fundamental, and it's a lot more than that, right? When the two become one flesh, this is what we call marriage. Uh, this happens at sex. You can say, uh, this kind of explains the psychological commitment, is that you are severely committing to other people, and when you do this act more and more and more, you're really committing to other people over and over again, and it does negatively, very negatively affect your psychology. And I'm not just talking about brain states, okay? I'm talking about the psyche itself, the soul, right? I mean, nothing is more stupid than psychologists that deny the soul. It's like being a scientist while denying science, or being a geologist while denying geology. Oh, I don't think geology is a real practice, but I'm a geologist, by the way. And it's that stupid. No, it negatively affects your soul. It severely damages your soul. And this results in an overall degeneration of our entire species, really. Is that we get ourselves into, we just damage ourselves psychologically and even physically by doing these over and over and over again, and we just go back. And this should not surprise you why we see so many bad arguments defending uh, baby murder, right? And of course, there's a lot more that I can talk about, but I don't think it's even worth talking about, right? I don't even think it's worth talking about when a pro abortionist, right, a pro murder person is making these arguments. I don't consider that person as someone who's having intellectual issues with pro life. That person is having primarily spiritual issues. That person is primarily having personal psychological issues that person needs to get over, not intellectual reasons. Okay, that's like the last problem. And this doesn't, like, everyone can have intellectual issues about anything, but most people, 95% of the people who are pro-abortionists, they're not pro-abortionists because they have intellectual reasoning. They're pro-abortionists because they want to have sex, and they want to have sex with strangers, and that's the only time they have fun in their lives. That's what their life is defined by. And so they feel the need to do this over and over again, and they don't want to carry the responsibility of doing so. And they're using this again, incestuous relationship, rape. They just use it as an excuse. They use victims as an excuse so that they can further their degenerative lifestyles. I mean, absolutely shame on these people, but it's the truth, right? A lot of people might deny this. A lot of people might get mad. Oh, you're saying that I'm a sex addict? Yes, you are. You are a sex addict. And how do I know this? Because whenever you point this out to Coomers, they always get incredibly mad. They always get incredibly defensive and incredibly angry. Now, you can say, oh, but you pro-lifers, you get angry and mad. Yeah, we get mad because you're defending the murder of an infant. Of course we will get mad. Of course we will get mad at the murder of people, right? That is different. What are you getting mad about? You're getting mad about people telling you, "Oh, just have less sex," right? If pro-lifers think abortion is murder, then how should I have sex? Don't have sex. It's as simple as that. If you don't want to have kids, don't have sex. If you're not married, don't have sex. It's as simple as that, right? Why is sex so beautiful? Because, as I said, we were biologically programmed this way to have children and to further or continue our existence as mankind. And we are misusing this, right? Just because something is fun doesn't mean the fun is the reasoning, right? We don't believe that having fun is enough of a reason. Life is a lot more than just merely having fun. Life has a goal, and for all Orthodox Christians, this goal is theosis, this goal is deification, this goal is being with God and becoming God by grace. I'm not trying to push you cultish Mormon stuff. I'm basically saying uniting with God and being saved. That's what I'm referring to. So, I mean, I think you kind of understand the point that I'm making here is that what I think a lot of pro-lifers miss is that, and this goes against secular pro-lifers, is that this whole reason, I mean, if you're a secularist and if you're selfish in a way, pro-choice is the kind of logical conclusion. It's not logical in the sense that it will be true in that worldview. It's logical in the sense that, well, if you want to just feel happier, right? Quote, happier, then that's the normal thing that people are going to go for. Quote, normal, of course. But first of all, you over time in the long term, you don't get happier. You actually get a lot more miserable. You become a lot more weaker. You lose yourself to passions. You let the demons play basketball inside your soul. You're just becoming a degenerated life form. I mean, you kind of cease becoming a human being. I'm not saying that in the sense that, oh, you literally stop being a human being. No, but you're losing the kind of thing that makes you human, right? The descriptive characteristics of what makes one a human, not the definitive. You're still a human being at the end of the day. It's just that you're shedding your humanity by engaging in these acts. And this is the fundamental reason why people are pro-choice. This is the fundamental reason why this debate even exists. The fundamental problem is sexual revolution, is that people that want to have sex, people want to engage in passions, people want to engage in sins. And again, for those who are secularists and watching this, when I say sin, I'm not just saying, oh, that means God gives you negative points, or you have a negative blessing score because you commit. That's not how sin works. Sin is something that genuinely damages you by itself, something that genuinely damages you, both physically, okay, not just, but both physically and spiritually / psychologically. It is an incredibly damaging thing. Like a certain act, right? I mean, sex is not something evil in marriage, for example. It is not evil in marriage. It is something good. But the misuse of something good is leads to it becoming evil. It's akin to idol worship, right? Sacrificing animals. Right? For example, in the Old Testament, sacrifices to God were good, but you could sacrifice the same exact thing to a demon, and that sacrifice will be evil, and that you should not eat it. Right? Why is that? Why is that the case? Right? So because the misuse of something good kind of just does make it evil. So sex when misused is evil. Everything when it's misused is evil. And most people, not only in the West, but I think in the entire world, misses this kind of subconsciously obvious reality. And this is why they get tricked by demons into thinking, I'm gonna have fun, I'm gonna do what I want, when really they're doing something that they don't want. They just feel like they want it. They're being tricked, right? They're tricking themselves, and ultimately they're being tricked by the demons. And of course, there's a lot more things that you can say, a lot more spiritual commentary that you can make, but I'm going to kind of cut it there before I go longer and longer. I kind of want to also end this with something here. Now, of course, this part of the video might be, I don't know, uncomfortable for some people, but I'm not gonna make any commentaries. I'm not gonna say, oh, you should take this from this video. This is just from Dr. Stanley Plotkin, who speaks about fetal cells being used and even being used as ingredients in vaccines historically. Again, this has been something that happened, and I think it's also relevant in this discussion. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Many vaccines on the childhood vaccine schedule contain MRC5 human diploid cells.
So remember MRC5, like keep that in mind because it's going to be coming up soon.
Rubella, varicella, hepatitis A.
What are MRC5 cells?
They are human fibroblast cell strain. They were created by taking fetal tissue and from a particular fetus that was aborted by maternal choice, and the cells, the so-called fibroblast cells, were cultivated.
So, I mean, I think it's pretty clear here that this MRC5 was by an aborted fetus, right? And it's being used in vaccines. Now, I'm not saying, oh, be anti-vax or pro. This is not that discussion, but it is to point to how how unethical even science has become, and all of these things have become, where we are completely fine with using human beings as ingredients to make quote scientific progress. Of course, people will say, "Oh, but it's about protecting us," right? And that not even them, not even these people who use this argument themselves actually believe that, because you can even go to the logical conclusion that, okay, should we use human beings as test subjects? Should we do tests on them? No, I mean, we had many tests that on human beings that eventually got banned, and that many people regard as unethical. So if that is unethical, this is also likewise. Even if it's a single human person's fetal cells being used as an ingredient for vaccine, even that is unethical. Again, this is just to show to you what state that we have kind of become. But let's listen
Do any
further on.
vaccines on the childhood vaccine schedule contain WI38 human diploid lung fibroblasts?
Well, they used to, but I don't think anything is made in those cells anymore.
If you could turn to page 3.
So just wanted to point out that some of them eventually it seems like they've used some of them. They used at that time. Some of them they stopped using it, so it's not as if just kind of wants to give you some of the big picture. But this is again for Stanley Plotkin, Dr. Stanley Plotkin, under oath, admitting these things. So when you see, oh, this vaccination doesn't use that, or that does use that, I've seen people kind of doing the fact checking things, right? They do these fact checks. Oh, I'm gonna fact check you, and like for example, nowadays people are claiming, oh, for the meme virus vax, meme virus vax, they use aborted fetal tissues, and they say, oh no, it doesn't use it, and then like in the bottom paragraph, it's like, oh, by the way, it does use it, by the way, which I've actually seen like the kind of stuff that they've done. Again, just to kind of point out that some people go as far as to use this, and like when you think about it, like the logical conclusion can be human experimentation. Okay, just think about it. It can be something that prepares us for something like this, and I think it's something to keep in mind, that it is actually a legitimate concern, not a wild, delusion, but it is something that does seem to be a possibility in certain circles that we should be prepared for and we should avoid defending very willingly or unwillingly. And this is kind of what I wanted to end this video with. And yeah, this wasn't a theology video or some sort, but it is still something I kind of wanted to talk about for months, and I just decided to do it. So I thank you all for watching this, whoever you are. I'll see you guys in another video. If you like this content, subscribe, like video, share, comment, good things, say nice stuff. If you want to be my George Soros, you can subscribe to my Patreon. If you don't have the money to, that's fine. That's completely fine. If you're a cool kid like me who uses Bitcoin, you can donate to my Bitcoin wallet as well. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you all for watching. God be with you all. See ya.